I'm Chris Saxman, former member of the House of Delegates and current executive director of Virginia Free. That's the Foundation for Research and Economic Education, founded in 1988, when people thought then the business community was under threat from anti-business legislators. Can you imagine what they would think today? Lynn Mitchell, lead off.
I am Lynn Mitchell. I am editor-in-chief over at Bearing Drift, and I am a political junkie, and we cover everything we can.
Okay, Brian Sheneman.
I am Brian Sheneman. I'm the former editor-in-chief of Bearing Drift. Currently, I am a maritime lawyer in Washington. I do a lot of lobbying. I've run for the House of Delegates as well as for local office, and served as elections administrator in Fairfax County, the largest jurisdiction in Virginia. Lifelong Republican, and I'm happy to be here.
And you're looking very distinguished today, Brian.
Thank you. I grew the COVID beard just for the show.
You need to stop doing that. Okay, Michael.
Hi, I'm Mike Allers Jr. I am an educator, writer, and contributor with the Bearing Drift and co-host of Grand New Podcast with my fellow co-host, Matt Colt-Hall.
Okay, Andrea Epps.
I am Andrea Epps. I am just me. I just like to write and have opinions about political issues.
Okay, you probably want to turn off one of those features. We'll get you up on the screen twice. Merle Russ.
Hi, I'm Merle Russ, a retired military officer, a former defense executive, and now contributor to Bearing Drift and a wine grower in Loudoun County.
Okay, wine growing, good stuff. DJ McGuire.
I'm DJ McGuire from Hampton Roads, Virginia. I am a co-host of the More Perfect Union podcast, senior contributor to Bearing Drift, and as I refer to myself, the conservative feather of the Democratic Party.
Good to have one of those. Matthew.
Chris, it's such a pleasure to be on with you again. My name is Matt Colt-Hall. I'm a senior contributor at BearingDrift.com, and I am so excited to be in on the conversation today.
Well, it's great to have you here. You've been in the news a little bit lately. We'll get back to the 5th district when we talk about that, but let's dive into a couple issues here. And again, let's not all shout at one time. Let's get a hand up so I can get and this conversation as we go on, but is audible for our listeners and those who will watch and listen later after we record this and put it up on YouTube, and then you can put it everywhere you want. But one of the obvious questions in Virginia politics today is, what direction is Virginia Republican Party going, or has it hit rock bottom? And then we'll have some conversations about potential statewide candidates in the Republican Party for 2021, as well as for the Democratic Party. Let's leave off with Brian Sheneman.
I think the biggest issue right now is every time I feel like the party has hit its all-time low, something happens and we go lower. So I'm very afraid to say that we've finally hit rock bottom, because I don't think we've really seen that. I think, frankly, at all levels, we're seeing dysfunction within the party apparatus. At the local levels, we're seeing it at the Commonwealth-wide level. And I think that it's trickling up, unfortunately, to the federal level too. So I think in the end, what we really need to do is, we as Republicans in Virginia need to sit down and kind of figure out what exactly are we about. Do we still believe in the Republican creed? Are we still a big tent party that's welcoming to anyone that shares our ideals? And are we really committed to getting people elected in Virginia? Because I'll tell you, if our goal is to elect people to represent us and to elect people who are conservative and who represent the Republican values, we're not doing a very good job of it. And I think it's time that we refocus our efforts on that more than anything else. A lot of people have tried to turn the Republican Party into a debating society, and that's not been effective in getting folks elected.
Okay, let's anyone else? Mike?
I think the Republican Party has a Chaz problem. All right, right now the Republican Party is the city of Seattle. It is a beautiful city. It has a lot of great features to it, but unfortunately, right now, a part of it has been held by radicals with unrealistic demands, and the mayor and the governor is allowing them to exist. And I think right now the same thing has happened with the Republican Party. A good 35% is holding the rest of the party hostage, whether it's at these conventions or whether it's at whether it's an unfair elections, blocking people off and not letting everyone in the party vote, not growing the party. So we have a Chaz problem. We're held hostage by radicals.
Okay, I like the analogy. I didn't think you were going to get there, but you managed to. I appreciate that. DJ is shaking his head no.
I am reminded that the last time the Republican Party had a statewide primary, Corey Stewart was the winner. I don't think that's something that is relegated to a small segment of the party. I think the party has a lot more problems than it realizes, and not just at the Virginia level, but at the federal level too. Jonathan V. Last of the Bulwark had in his newsletter a couple days back, he said that the Republican Party is no longer a party about winning elections, as Brian noted, but it's more a party about grievances, and it's more a party about emotional catharsis. And that kind of party enjoys losing elections more than winning them. And getting to the 5th district, I think there would be quite a few Republicans who would be happier to see the 5th district be lost than the 5th district be won. And one of them, frankly, is probably going to be Ben Klein, because it means Democrats in the General Assembly will put Roanoke in the 5th to shore up insert Democrat here, and he never has to worry about that city again. But I digress, sorry.
A bad digression. Anybody else want to chip in here? Andrea, go ahead.
Well, I can't disagree with anything that was said. I would add that the incipient plan of reducing the size of the state central committee, the whole keep it small, control it all idea that's been floated around. This is actually a quote from a letter that was floating around. It says that the change will assure accountability to the district-wide and statewide electorate, and markedly reduce the variable number of voting members of the state central committee. And the problem with that is that there's no accountability now. So if you want to reduce it to make it easier to lobby people, it's going to make it worse rather than better. And I came into the whole Bearing Drift thing thinking really with no opinion personally on whether or not a primary was better than a convention. And I have no doubt in my mind after the last couple of years that without a statewide primary, statewide office, and actually winning without knowing what the broader section of the electorate wants is not going to be possible.
Okay. Anyone else want to chip in there? Just hearkening back to the 2018, we'll get you in a second there, Merle. Corey Stewart won by a little over 5,000 votes over Nick Freitas, 44-8 to 43-1. So it was a fairly close contest, and they did have 270, over 300,000 voters that day. So yeah, Merle, go ahead. Merle? Not Merle?
Did we lose him?
I don't know if Merle's responding there. Mike, you want to pick up on that one?
Yeah. Actually, I'd like to push back on this. Yes, Corey Stewart, complete abomination, and a huge stain on the Republican Party. However, I think it comes down to, once again, going back to my Chaz analogy, how we deal with these people. Not one person was willing to call Corey Stewart a racist on stage or a white supremacist or say, quite frankly, sit down, get out of here. You're not welcome in the party. We treated him as a serious contender. We gave him space, and a lot of people were afraid of his supporters. And quite frankly, you can't be held hostage by these people. So I would say it wasn't really a reflection of the Republican Party as a whole, but our willingness to condemn him. And if we're not going to push back, people are going to think it's okay to vote for somebody like that.
Well, if I can back up on that as well, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, but here's the thing that I discovered when I was interviewing Corey Stewart for Virginia Free. I asked him about illegal immigration, and he said we should increase legal immigration from 1 million a year nationally to 2 million a year. I said, okay, would you take from the current population of existing illegals currently residing in the United States and make that part of that new $1 million per year, sort of draw down whatever the 11, 12, 14, 15 million it's considered to be? Would you consider that in that new 1 million? Corey Stewart looked at us and said, yes, I would, but quickly said, but that's not amnesty. And I thought to myself, well, I don't know what you're going to call it. So I reported it. I put it out there, and immediately folks in Hampton Roads said, oh, Saxman must be getting it wrong. And I'm like, no, that's pretty much verbatim what he actually said. I mean, they don't want to believe what the guy actually said while he's playing both sides of the coin. Let's go to DJ McGuire, and then we'll go to Brian.
Yeah, the problem is the sides of the coin that he feels he has to play. With all due respect, Michael, I think you're confusing the hostages for the bank customers. The reality is, or the hostage takers for the bank customers. You know, the one elephant in the room that we haven't talked about is the President of the United States. How can you condemn Corey Stewart on a Republican debate stage for the things he says when the President of the United States says things that are similar or, in fact, worse? So the fact of the matter is, the room that Corey Stewart and folks of his ilk have within the party, whether they're just selling out to the racists or whether they are actually racist, comes from the room given within the party by the president himself and all of the people who voted for him in primaries and the people who refused to even consider any challengers to him in the primary this year.
Okay, Brian, thoughts?
I think we're fixating too much on Corey Stewart, and I think we need to take a step back here. I think
Fair.
For every election, you need two things to work properly in order to get somebody elected. First, you have to have a fair and impartial process to determine who the nomination is going to be. And two, you need good nominees who want to run, who have a legitimate chance of winning. 2018, as far as I'm concerned, Corey Stewart got the nomination because nobody else wanted it. There was nobody else that wanted to lose to Tim Kaine. It just wasn't going to happen. So why would a solid candidate come out of the woodwork who was sitting in an existing job, somebody like a Congressman Whitman, somebody like, well, I guess Rob would probably be the only one I can think of off the top of my head that would have the gravitas to run statewide at this point at a federal level. Why would they take the opportunity to lose? So I think 2018, it was a weak field. The result was we got a weak candidate who lost. Now that's not always going to exist, but I will say that part of the decision-making process on whether or not you want to get into a race is always going to be, do you think you can win the nomination fight? And the more fair that nomination fight is, the more likely it is you're going to get good candidates who are going to go out there and run hard on the issues, go out there, talk to voters, work through the means that they need to do in order to win. And unfortunately, as we saw last week in the 5th District, too many of our nominating contests, particularly the ones that are party run, are run for the benefit of a small group of people who want to act as kingmakers that are not reflective of the overall electorate. And the result is we get bad candidates who get nominated because we have bad candidates who run. Good people don't want to get involved, and we lose elections. And we got to start there. If we don't start there from the ground up of providing fair processes that encourage good candidates, we're never going to win another race.
Can't disagree with much of that. Let's